Have you been hearing about ChatGPT in the news and quietly wondering what all the fuss is about? And maybe wondering how on earth you would even begin? Then this is for you. By the end of this video, you will have found it, you will have set up your own account, and you will have asked it your first question. All of it free, all of it in plain English. And do stay with me right to the end, because the last thing I'm going to show you is how to do all of this without typing a single word. You just talk to it. For a lot of us, that turns out to be the part that changes everything. Before we start, let me say who I am. I'm Connie. I'm not an engineer, and I don't work for any of the companies that make these things. I'm someone who sat down and worked it out, and I'm going to walk you through it the way I wish somebody had walked me through it, slowly and without assuming you already know anything. Let's begin with what this thing actually is. And I find it's easier to start with what it is not. It is not a search engine. It is not Google. Google hands you a list of blue links and leaves you to sort through them. This does not do that. It is not a robot. There is no machine walking around somewhere. And it is not a person. There is nobody sitting at a desk typing back to you. I know that sounds obvious, but a great many people quietly wonder, and it's a perfectly fair thing to wonder. Here's what it is. Think of a very patient assistant who has read almost everything ever written. Every book, every newspaper, every instruction manual. And that assistant is willing to explain any of it to you, at whatever pace you need, without ever once making you feel foolish for asking. That is much closer to the truth. Now, 3 things that stop most people before they start. The first, there is nothing to download, nothing to install. It runs inside the same web browser you're using right now to watch this. If you can open a web page, you can do this. The second, it is free, there is a paid version, and one day you might want it. You do not need it now. The free version is remarkable, and it costs nothing. And the third, which I think is the important one, you cannot break it. You genuinely cannot. There is no wrong button. There is nothing you can type that will damage anything or cost you money. If you make a mess of it, you close the window and start again. That's all. So let's go and find it. Open your web browser, that's Chrome or Safari or Edge, whichever you normally use. Now here's the first thing worth knowing, and it's the sort of thing nobody tells you. Do not search for the words ChatGPT. Search instead for the company that makes it. The company is called OpenAI. That's one word. Open, then the letters A and I. Here's why that matters. ChatGPT is enormously popular now, which means there are imitation websites out there hoping you'll click them by mistake. Searching for the company name takes you to the real thing. Searching for the product name is where people go wrong. So, search for OpenAI. The very first result will be the company's own website. Go to it. Now you'll want your own account so that it remembers your conversations from one day to the next. Look for a button that says log in or sign up. If you've never been here before, choose sign up. It's free. You will need 2 things, your email address and a password you choose yourself. For the password, pick something you'll remember, but a stranger wouldn't guess. Write it down somewhere safe if that helps. There is no shame in a notebook. Once you've typed those in, go and check your email. There will be a message waiting from OpenAI asking you to confirm it's really you. Open it, click the link inside, and it will bring you straight back, already signed in. That's it. That's the whole setup. It takes about 2 minutes, and you only ever do it once. Now, what are you looking at? Very little, and that's deliberate. There is one box in the middle of the screen, and it says something like Ask Anything. That is where everything happens. There are no advertisements, nothing flashing, nothing trying to sell you something. It is one of the cleanest screens on the internet, which for our purposes is a blessing. Down the left-hand side, you'll find your past conversations listed by date, so you can go back to something you were working on last week. And there's a button to start a fresh one whenever you like. There's also something called temporary chat. If you turn that on, whatever you talk about isn't saved anywhere. It works rather like the private window on your browser. Useful occasionally. Most of the time, you'll want it off so it can remember what you were discussing. Now, one word of vocabulary, and then we're finished with the technical part entirely. You will hear people say the word prompt. A prompt is just the thing you type. That's all it means. The question, or the request, or the instruction. When somebody says write a prompt, they mean type your question in the box. Nothing more complicated than that. So what do you actually type? This is the question I get most often, and the answer is simpler than people expect. Write to it exactly the way you would speak to a patient friend, not in special words, not in commands, just ordinary English. Here are 3 you could type today. Write a friendly birthday message for my daughter who is turning 35. Or give me 3 easy dinners I could make this week using chicken. Or explain Medicare to me in simple terms. I am 68. That's it. That's the level. You do not need to be clever about it. Type your question into the box and press enter. In a few seconds, the answer appears. And here is the part people don't expect. Whatever comes back is not final. You can ask it to try again. You can say that was too long, make it shorter. You can say explain that as though I know nothing about it. You can say I didn't understand the 3rd paragraph. It will simply do it without any impatience at all. Underneath each answer, there are a few small buttons. One copies the whole thing, so you can paste it into an email. One reads the answer aloud to you, one shares it, and one asks it to have another go. This is the thing to hold on to. It is a conversation, not a search box. You are allowed to go back and forth. That is exactly how it is meant to be used. So what is it genuinely useful for in an ordinary week? For to start with, meals. Tell it what's actually in your cupboard and ask what you could make. Money. Ask it to help you lay out a simple budget on a fixed income. Letters. A note to a grandchild. A message to your doctor you've been putting off. It will write a first draft, and you change whatever doesn't sound like you. And lists. A packing list for a trip. A list of questions to take to an appointment so you don't forget them when you're sitting there. Try one. Just one. That's how everybody starts. Now, the thing I promised you at the beginning, you can carry all of this in your pocket, and you don't have to type a word. There is an app for your phone, and it's free. On an iPhone, go to the App Store. On an Android phone, the Play Store. Search for ChatGPT, and look carefully at who made it. It must say OpenAI. There are copies, and you don't want those. Sign in with the same email and the same password you just made. And here's the good part. Everything stays in step. A conversation you started on your computer this morning is right there on your phone this afternoon. Now, the reason I saved this for last. On the phone, there's a small microphone button. Press it and simply talk. Say your question out loud in your own voice at your own speed. It listens and it answers. No typing, no small keys, no squinting. If your hands aren't what they were, or you've never much liked typing, this is the moment the whole thing opens up. A great many people tell me this is when it finally became useful to them, and it only listens when you press that button, not before and not after. Which brings me to safety, because it matters and it's short. The good news first. It cannot see the files on your computer. It cannot see through your camera. It does not know where you are. Now, 3 rules. Never type in a password, never type in your bank details, and never type in your social security number. It has no need for any of them, and no honest tool would ask. Second, it can be wrong. Not often, but it happens. And here's what makes it tricky. It sounds exactly as confident when it's wrong as when it's right. There's no change in its tone to warn you. So the rule I'd give you is this one. Use it to understand things. Use it to write things. But never let it have the last word on your money, your medicine, or the law. For those 3, you check with a person. That single rule keeps you out of nearly all the trouble. So there it is. You found it. You've set up an account. You know what to type, and you know how to talk to it instead of typing. Tell me in the comments what you're going to try first. A letter, a dinner, a question you've always wondered about. I read them all. And honestly, your questions are where I get the ideas for these videos. If this was useful and you'd like the next one explained the very same way, with no jargon and no rushing, then do subscribe. I'm Connie, and take your time.